Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast by Adrian Weather Forecast. And it's going to be a rather exciting upload for those who love either fall or winter uploads. So this is definitely going to be a little bit of a change here. I know I've been starting to mention fall and winter first thoughts, so I might as well do a second one for this fall. So I'm most likely to have another winter one before August 1st, because August 1st through August 7th will be my fall and winter week, where I do non-stop uploads every single day about fall or winter. So I'm starting to ease my way into this topic, so might as well start doing it just before August 1st. But before we get into the video, I would recommend subscribing to the channel, specifically if you start loving fall and winter type uploads, because I'm going to have a lot more of those as we get deeper into the year. As well, overall, just subscribe if you like daily content. As well, be sure to smash that like button so I know you guys like videos like these, so I can continue to do them as we go the next few weeks. And as well, be sure to join the Extreme Weather Discord server. That server is actually associated with my channel, so be sure to check out that server. It's absolutely wonderful. We have a ton of great channels there. Just overall, it's pretty interactive and just a very, very awesome server. But that link will be in the description, as well. It will be pinned in the comments below. But without further ado, let's get in the video. So the first thing we're going to check a look now at is at the Nino 3.4 index, which is basically in the subtropical region of the Pacific, basically Central Pacific and the subtropics. So this is going to be giving us an idea whether we're basically at a neutral La Nina or El Nino at the moment. At this point, we are still at a neutral. Sorry, we are at an Enso neutral right now. At this point, like we have been for quite a while. However, we do still have a La Nina watch, as the Enso forecast is predicting us to get to a La Nina by the late fall, if not early winter. So we are expecting a La Nina by the fall region, most likely October or November, and there is a chance for that to continue into winter. So at this point, we are looking at possibly for the first half of the fall to have neutral status, and then eventually, as we go later into the fall, we're going to start seeing more La Nina type characteristics, which will obviously impact the more of the northern United States, but we're going to get into that later in the video. But right now, status-wise, we are basically at less than positive 0.1, so we're basically just above that kind of dead even neutral. We had a pretty large and significant dip all the way down to negative 0.1, but now it has ever since risen back to a positive neutral. So at this point, we're kind of going on and off as waters really cooled off in the Pacific, and now it looks like they're going to start seeing a little bit more of a warm up. But just recently, we got a latest downtrend right now. It should get it back to a negative status, but it's going to kind of go on and off. However, as we go deeper into August and eventually September, it looks like we're going to get a lot closer to negative 0.5. And it will be a lot more consistent as waters in the central and even portions of outside or just northwest of South America, northwest of South America, we're going to start seeing those waters start to cool off. Be more below average, which is exactly what we're going to keep a close eye on if we want to get to La Nina status within the next 8 or so weeks. So definitely going to keep a very, very close eye on this, and obviously this will eventually have an effect on what we're going to be seeing with this fall. But definitely it's still pretty far out to actually get a better idea when we're expecting this La Nina transition. But we still have a La Nina watch, and it's definitely going to be likely to get it by the late fall region. Let's now go and get a look at the actual SSTs for portions of the Pacific. So here's the 3.4 region right here across portions of the Central Pacific. And we are definitely seeing some really widespread cold waters as well. That's going to be stretching those cooler waters and below average waters all the way up to portions of western South American coast, just outside of areas near Peru, and as well from northern coast of Chile. However, the reason why we saw this recent upward trend is because a lot of those waters that were slightly below average are now kind of mainly average. And as well, those waters right here for just outside the Nino 1 region In 1.2 region, we are seeing some warmer waters just to the northwest of South America, and that is a reason why we overall are starting to see a upward trend. But again, the upward trend is really for 3.4 region, and that's because a lot of those waters overall are becoming more average, so they are ever so slightly warming up, and that's what the upward trend wasn't necessarily super significant or widespread, but now we're seeing that latest downward trend, so waters are going to start cooling off ever so slightly, but mainly there is some widespread cold waters and a very more widespread area with average waters, but there is still some areas in the off of northwestern South America where there are warmer waters as well. Overall average, there's actually too many areas of average SSTs across the 3.4 region, and that's exactly right now we're still sitting at a barely positive, but we're still at a positive at this point. But if we see a little bit more of a cool down across the 3.4 region, even in one region, we're going to start seeing this get it back to negative status. So let's now go ahead and get a look here at the latest summary for the ENSO PowerPoint presentation. At this point, we still have a La Nina watch for alert system status, so we are no longer in an actual Nina advisory. We're actually in a La Nina watch. So there is, we're getting towards the possibilities. So basically, we're getting to the point where a La Nina is likely to develop once again within the next 3 months or so, which is why we already have a watch, because it can form as early as maybe early October, mid-October, or even late October. So we're kind of watching out for that 3-month time frame of where this La Nina can transition once again. But right now, ENSO neutral conditions are present. Equatorial sea surface temperatures, which is basically SSTs, are near to below average across most of the Pacific Ocean. So you can see near to below average. You're going to be wanting to see just below average if you want to get towards anywhere close to that negative 0.5 status. Like I did say, we have a lot of areas that are below average, but barely. And then we have a lot of areas that are average. So we're basically near to below. So it's kind of 50-50. We have a lot of areas of average and a lot of areas of barely slightly below average. So it's not like the waters are significantly cooler. It's basically average. It's ever so slightly less than degrees Celsius below average. So right now, obviously, we have an ENSO neutral present. However, we're going to keep a very close eye as we go for the next maybe 8 or so weeks if the conditions in the Pacific SST-wise continue to go in the downward trend, which is exactly what we are expecting. But ENSO neutral is favored through the northern hemisphere summer and into the fall. So right now, obviously, we are not looking for a La Nina at all this summer. So ENSO neutral is 100% likely to continue in the northern hemisphere throughout the summer and into the fall, with a 51% chance for the August and October seasons. So basically, there's a 51% chance, which isn't extremely high, for an ENSO neutral to continue throughout August and November. So 51% chance isn't extremely high. There's obviously maybe a 3 or 4% for El Nino. There's basically overall basically a 45 to maybe 47% basically is what they're saying for a neutral to continue maybe between either August and October. And I think if you change the range from September to November, we would actually have a favoring chance for neutral instead of La Nina. But with La Nina potentially emerging during the September-November timeframe, there we go. See, so now they actually changed their description. They never mentioned a La Nina potentially emerging in September-November. They just said a chance for it to continue in the winter. So there is more confidence that this La Nina will transition between September-November season and lasting through the 2021 and 2022 winter with a 66%. So it's obviously a lot higher than the 51% for the early fall, but a 66% for the continued through November and January, so late fall and early winter. So there's a 66% chance we will be seeing a La Nina as early as potentially November, and then there is a slightly above 50% chance for La Nina to emerge as early as September and November. So here's now a look at the last 4 weeks SST-wise for the Equatorial Pacific, and you see during the last 4 weeks, SSTs have been mostly near average. In the last week, below average SSTs have emerged in parts of the Central and East Central Pacific. So you can kind of see they're mainly average, not many colors at all, but now we have a lot more scattered blues, obviously not significantly below average. However, we're still seeing within the past week or so, waters are starting to cool off a lot more in the Pacific. So based on all of that, let's go ahead and get a look at the probability for La Nina, El Nino, and Enzo neutral probabilities all the way up to February, March, and April of next year. So obviously we do have just above an 80% for neutral to continue throughout July or June, July, and August. Obviously it's basically 100% chance now. For now, portions of July, August, and September, this neutral probability does dramatically decrease to maybe around a 65%, and as well La Nina spikes to around above a 30% for that time frame as well. So you can kind of see once we go through deeper into the actual fall season, as early as September, that neutral probability will decrease and that La Nina probability will increase, and the El Nino will kind of stay pretty similar to where it is now, basically at maybe a 4 or 5% chance. As we now get into August, September, and October, you can see now neutral is only at a 50% chance. So it goes from basically 80 down to basically 50 within a month and a half time period, and then a La Nina basically at a 45%. So it's getting it very, very close. But watch how now the La Nina probability dramatically continues to increase now as we get deeper into central fall now for September, October, November. So obviously there was a chance for a La Nina emerging between September and November time frame. It's exactly what we have, up to a 60%. It's not 50. It's a big 60%. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong month. Oopsie. 55%. So that's definitely a pretty big jump from 45, or actually just under, let's see here, under 50, maybe 45 to maybe up to nearly 55%. But once we now get into the deeper portion of fall, October, November, and December, so a little bit of actually winter, now it jumps to over a 60% neutral at only a 35%, and then continues to increase. Now, the main time frame, November, December, and January, we have up to a 65, almost 70% for a La Nina, and then it's ever so slightly decreases once we get towards late winter. But really, for much of fall, so maybe October, November, and December, we will be seeing a La Nina, which is definitely going to favor a portion of the northern United States. So let's actually get a look at the future forecast by models overall, just models kind of average out. So the dotted black line is basically the ensemble mean. So basically averaging out all the models. And you can see the majority are really kind of having it get deep into a La Nina actually by the peak season, November, December, January, which is obviously where we have the 66%. Models are getting as below as a -1, which is a pretty decent La Nina, actually, even as low as a -1.5, which is a pretty strong La Nina as well. So if we get as far down as there between November, December, and January, we're going to be seeing very, very cold and snowy late fall and a very, very active winter for sure for the Great Lakes, North Central United States, portions of the Ohio Valley, and as well a very nice and cold winter snowy portion of the Pacific Northwest. And if this is verified, we do get a La Nina as early as October, we may start seeing some pretty large and significant rocky snowstorms in the early season. So if you guys want to get an idea, basically what a general La Nina will bring for the United States is basically a very cold, snowy, cold portion of the northern United States, and specifically the portion of the Pacific Northwest. So we kind of see that nice Arctic jet that kind of dips in from portions of the Arctic, kind of just goes all the way down to portions of the deep United States and kind of brings in that cold associated high pressure. And then we kind of have a low pressure kind of lighting that front, and we're going to be seeing a lot of snow as well, overall a ton of moisture across this general nice Arctic jet. And then we have this subtropical jet kind of bringing in really nice dry air and warm air as well for portions of the southern and specifically southwestern United States. This is kind of what we typically see in a La Nina. So typically in a La Nina, you see a lot of northeasterners and southerners complain, and you see a lot of northerners get happy when it comes to La Nina. So it's kind of just an overall what a La Nina will bring for the United States. Here's now another look. So there you see again that nice Arctic jet that I was talking about kind of dips in the United States, and you kind of see that nice, cold, deep, dry air kind of associated with that. When I say dry air, probably when you're hacking get snow out of dry cold air, because you have that nice warm and humid southeast to the south. So once that cold air kind of meets with that nice wet area and moist, you're going to be seeing that snow kind of just to the north of that. So a good amount of snow for the Great Lakes as well. Same thing happened in the Pacific Northwest. See that nice dry cold air kind of aimed for a portion of the Northwest. But how can you get snow? When you need precipitation and it's dry air, is because you see that nice amount of moisture associated on the west coast, and that allows for that nice mountain snow. And as you figured, El Nino is a completely different story. So obviously in a La Nina, see that nice cold Arctic jet bringing cold air, and obviously warm air for the south, completely different with El Nino. So when you see an El Nino, you're going to start seeing me get happy and all that, because typically in an El Nino, the southeast and overall south, there's a better chance of snow. Obviously, it doesn't mean they're going to get snow, but overall, average-wise, there is a good chance, better than El Nino, of course, for the southeast to get snow when it comes to El Nino, because you have that nice subtropical jet kind of bringing a lot more moisture across the southwest, kind of see strong monsoon season. And then obviously when you have that nice, when you see those frequent Arctic air blasts that kind of associate with the Arctic, you kind of see it within those El Nino years, that when you see mainly those negative Arctic oscillation years, you see that the Arctic in Canada and northern United States stays pretty warm, and it actually pushes that cold air to the deep south. And then with that cold air meeting the nice moisture, you see that nice good snow possibly, like with Winter Storm Benji and all that. And then of course you see that dry and warm air for the Great Lakes. Obviously you still see a ton of snow across the northern United States in the El Nino year, but it's still below average. So let's now, last but not least, kind of look at the overall kind of monthly forecast. And obviously this is very, very, very inaccurate, because when you start looking at the monthly forecast from NOAA, all they do is show above average. They barely show those light blues. They actually love to just show either those whites, which is basically average or unknown, or those reds, which is basically above average. So they really never have a low average, which is basically why it's going to be very inaccurate, because they're obviously going to be staying just warm across the United States and no cooler. So it's going to be a little bit harder of an idea to get an actual opinion from this. But looking now, August, September, and October, looks like the NOAA wants to have really, really warm northeast, so as well overall pretty darn warm portions of the Four Corner states, as well as maybe a little bit of average there for the South Central. Let's now look at the precipitation. They want to have a pretty good moist and wet portions of the eastern United States as we go into fall, and as well pretty darn warm and dry west, which is basically not what they need. So for September, October, November, very similar things, still showing basically the whole country above average, which we all know is not going to happen. But again, it's going to have just very warm bias, which is why you typically don't look at the long range forecast at all. However, there's a little bit more of a common sense here by October, November, December. You kind of see that big, nice dip right here of average temperature, which looks like the models are, or look the long range models are trying to indicate that we're going to be seeing some cool air kind of move in with this region, which is bringing out not above average, but now average temperatures for portions of the northern United States. Now, let's see here, November, December, January, that continues to get a lot larger. So it looks like they're trying to show some maybe cold air up there in the northern United States.